Hey guys, welcome back to episode 16 of Two Girls, One Crime. I am one of your hosts, Megan, and this is
I'm Emily.
Emily, the greatest of all time.
Yes. Let me change my name.
Change the name to Go. So, anyways, with that being said, we are going to do something a little bit different today that we haven't done yet. Instead of talking about our favorite topic, which is murder, we're going to talk about a crime that's not murder.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is a crazy little tale. It has a lot of twists and turns. It's very famous.
Mm-hmm.
One of the only crimes in history that is as big as it was and unsolved. So, with that being said, here we go. Miss Emily is going to dive into a little bit of the background. We're going to go into crime, all that fun stuff, but she's going to kick us off with describing what we're going to talk about today, leaving it a mystery.
Yes, we're making you wait a couple seconds. So yeah, we're talking about the D.B. Cooper case. Dan Cooper, he was a unidentified man. This was his alias. He hijacked a Northwest Orient Airlines flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington in 1971. So we're going to kind of talk about this whole case, and obviously the background is a little bit tough because he's unidentified, but I'm going to talk about kind of how people described him and all of that. So he was described as a quiet and polite man. He was like mid-40s, about 6 feet tall. He weighed about 170 to 175 pounds, and we know that he was wearing a black suit and a black tie. Also, a little bit about him was like he had a familiarity with aircrafts. He smoked cigarettes, and he drank bourbon, which I'm not sure how they know that part, but that's what my research told me. So we also kind of know, which Megan will get into this a lot more in a second, but we know that he demanded about $200,000 from the pilots and the crew on this flight, which is equivalent to about $1.6 million today. He then released the passengers. He parachuted himself out of the flight into basically the woods of Southwest Washington. We know that this name was used to buy a one-way ticket. The ticket was bought in Portland. So that's kind of a little bit of the background. Like Megan said, this is one of the only unsolved cases like this magnitude in American history, and the FBI ended up actually closing this investigation in 2016. So they're working on it for a while. But yeah, this is kind of all we really know about his background. So Megan's going to take it away with the exciting stuff, the crime.
We love crime, obviously. We wouldn't be called Two Girls, One Crime without the crime part.
Exactly.
So, kind of going into the details of what happened, Emily gave a great overview of it. But on November 24th of 1971, this guy named Dan Cooper went to the counter of the Northwest Orient Airlines in Portland, Oregon, asking for a one-way ticket, which he bought for $20, which I just
I wish.
I was telling someone yesterday, I was like, it used to be so cheap to buy flights. $20 for one way. It's probably $40 to get from California to Massachusetts.
Right.
Anyways, sad
Sad.
inflation. Any so he bought a one-way ticket on flight 3-5 to Seattle, Washington. Then he boarded the plane. Nothing was out of the ordinary.
Mhm.
And right after 3 p.m., he handed the flight attendant a note saying how he had a bomb in his briefcase, and he asked the flight attendant to sit with him. He didn't pull out a gun or anything, literally just sat there and was like, I have a bomb, sit with me. He, so she sat with him, and then later he had her walk a new note to the front of the craft where the pilots were, saying that he had a bomb. He wanted 4 parachutes. He wanted that $200,000 in $20 bills specifically.
Mhm.
He they didn't cause any panic. They just landed the flight, and they landed in Seattle, Washington. So at that point, Cooper was still waiting on the plane, and the idea was that he would give up the 36 passengers, not including the flight attendants and pilots, in order to receive the 200,000 and the four parachutes. And keeping in mind that it was specifically for citizen parachutes. So he didn't want any military grade ones, he wanted just civilian ones. He ended up giving up the 36 passengers and he kept several crew members on board and he demanded that he wanted to go to Mexico City now at this point. So they took off after around 8 o'clock in the evening, right around between Seattle and Reno. He jumped out of the airplane with a parachute and all the money, didn't do anything else. The pilot landed safely, and Cooper was never seen again. It's just bizarre. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
parts of this where you never would have thought, and especially now, if you think about it, it makes sense why there's so many crimes like this that
Mm-hmm.
or that don't actually happen now because of all security. But even when we talk about the suspects, you'll be like, oh, apparently this was pretty common. But the way he did it was
Mm-hmm.
just so intelligent and strategic.
Especially because like he didn't injure anybody. Like
Mm-mm.
he let all the passengers off and then was like, all right, we're flying here, and then he jumped out. So it's like
Yes.
clearly he was there for the money, question mark. But then also we'll get into it later, but like where's the money?
Yeah,
And
honestly.
where is
And
he?
where is he? And there's a couple of things even now where you would think, why didn't they see him jump out of the airplane? And we'll talk about all these things. But a couple of things highlight just afterwards
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of post-crime looked like. The FBI opened an investigation called Norjack, or Northwest Hijacking is what they called it. They interviewed hundreds of people. They tracked individuals and leads all across the country. And after just 5 years, they had 800 suspects. They did narrow their search down to, a, let's say, a handful of people,
Mm-hmm.
but they never truly figured out for sure who
Mm-hmm.
it was. They had a lot of people over the years confess to the crime, saying that they did it or they know somebody who did it, but none of the leads were really sufficient enough to say this person actually did it. So it's a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And again, even the FBI, after like 50 years, was it?
Mm-hmm.
50-ish years, 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
they close it. They don't know who it is, and they're just like, we got to move on with our life. So I just think it's crazy that he pulled it off, and to this day, they have no clue where he is.
Yeah, it's puzzling.
It's also like they gave such, even the description you gave, and there's police sketches
Mm-hmm.
out there of this guy, and they're descriptive. Like it shows an actual human being, and
Yeah,
you just never would have thought that that person could get away with this.
yeah. And like you just said this, but like airport security, like we grew up obviously after 9/11, so after all of the airport security was put in. So it's like I just can't even imagine not having an airport with security. Like that's
Yeah,
just like all we know, obviously.
no. Mm-hmm.
So it is crazy, like you said, you're gonna get into it a little bit more, but it's like this happened a lot. Well,
Yeah,
not this like specifically, but like there
no,
were a
but
lot of like security issues
a lot
compared.
of hijackings that I had no idea were a thing. In my
Right.
head, it was, oh, 9/11 was the most hijack type thing, and that's where everything changed. But there was
Mm-hmm.
actually a decent amount before 9/11,
Yeah.
and I think 9/11 was kind of the catalyst of being like, oh,
Turning.
we gotta get our security in check.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right, we talked about the crime. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
details out there, and obviously they've gone through the whole timeline and everything, but this was a very, since it is so small, it is so solidified. They don't have a lot of evidence behind it. But, anyways, we're gonna go into some of the suspects that they think over the years may have been the unidentified DB Cooper, or individuals where it's just very much a coincidence, some things, but there was never full proof. So, starting with the kind of top suspect, it is Richard Floyd McCoy. In so this is just a normal guy, and just listen for a moment while I tell you what he did. So on April 7th of 1972, he used a fake name, handed a note demanding 500,000 and four parachutes. They arrested McCoy for a similar airplane hijacking, which was this one that occurred less than 5 months after Cooper's flight. So I just gotta say, this is the same thing, just more money. It's $300,000 more.
Right. It's very.
It's just, it's a little weird, and since it was 5 months after, the only thing I will say with this guy is I could see him being the person that's like, oh, I'm gonna see if I can recreate this and do it better than he did
Also get
it.
away with it or whatever.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right,
So that's the only reason. It just is, you're making yourself so obvious at that point if you're doing the same thing again.
right. Yeah, I don't know. That is like weird. It's either like he's a like fan,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, trying to like recreate it, do it better. Or if not, if it is like the actual guy, then like that's just stupid.
Yeah, then you're just being dumb at that point.
Right.
The whole reason he did not he was not deemed this DB Cooper was because he didn't match any of the physical descriptions. And again, the physical descriptions were provided by two flight attendants. They were very
Hmm.
descriptive, and he didn't match pretty much anything.
Hmm.
So we're going to assume a lot of people do online think that he did this and he's the one who ultimately committed this crime. But yeah, it just kind of seems that this individual was just being dumb and was like, let's see if I can recreate it and do it better. And then here
Right.
we are.
Right. Yeah, I can't. It's odd. But anyways, we're gonna move on to the next one. There's a big list we
This
have.
this feels like a fun little game of who's the crime committer.
Who's next? Yeah. So next we're gonna talk about Dan Cooper. Similar name, puzzling. So in August of 2011, Marla Cooper claimed her uncle was named L.D. Cooper and claimed that she heard a conversation saying that their money problems were over and that they had hijacked a plane. Oh, strange. Also,
Hmm.
who would say that? Just like
Out
lying,
of the blue,
Right.
yeah.
No money was ever recovered, like with him or near him or, in his life, but that is it's a little bit odd.
A little strange. This one
Yeah.
kind of gets me because it is weird. Why would you overhear somebody? Why would somebody say, "Oh, our money problems are over"? We hijacked a plane, not
Yeah.
like we robbed a bank or we took a
Right.
loan out.
Right.
But yet there's no money
Borrowed some money from
recovered.
a friend.
Yeah,
Nope, we hijacked the
exactly.
plane. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, there was nothing like that. The only thing with this one I could see as a possibility is he actually did it and he just hid the money somewhere and it kind
Hmm.
of just went into this underground type deal, if
Right.
that makes any sense.
Right. And we'll talk about some more of the money later, like where some of it was found. But like it's very odd. Especially like all the serial numbers and everything. Like, why would you
Yeah.
take all this money and then like not use it?
Yeah, or
Right?
where is it? Just
Yeah.
if you have
Very.
this money, where is it?
Right.
So he's a maybe on the list for
Yeah.
me.
The
I don't
name
know.
is the name is very similar, which
Mhm.
is kind of weird, and obviously that conversation is a little weird, but who knows? No money was found, so who
No
knows?
money was found, so we don't know about this one. So our next suspect is
Hmm.
Sheridan Peterson.
Hmm.
So this individual was under suspicion within a week of the hijacking, but for some reason wasn't interviewed until decades after the incident.
Hmm.
He was a former Boeing employee, which that was the type of plane that was hijacked.
Hmm.
And get this, he was working at, I can't pronounce it, but at a skydiving center in the 1960s,
Hmm.
which was the same company that provided parachutes that Cooper used to escape. A big part of this, and will talk about this later, but Cooper didn't want military grade parachutes,
Hmm.
and they think a big part of that was because of tracking abilities or
Hmm.
special abilities to do something. Another part of it was he asked for four, where people believe he was lying and trying to make it seem like he was going to have four of the crew members jump with him, and it turned into more of a hostage situation or something happens. And that's a big reason why they use civilian parachutes. So they went to the skydiving company, and a lot of people think that this individual knew that they had these parachutes, knew that they were nearby in the airport they were landing at. It just seems a little suspicious.
Correct.
The only reason Peterson was not taken in or acquitted or convicted, that's the one word I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
for, because he had blue eyes, not brown eyes. But on top of that, he told police at the time he was living with his wife and his family in Nepal, but he did not have any proof that he did not fly back for this particular event. He wasn't in the area when it happened. There's no evidence saying that he was there. So
Mm-hmm.
this one, I feel like, is a little bit of a goofy one because I don't know, it just seems so realistic.
Yeah. It's also like weird the like connections of the parachutes, and like you were saying, like he was very specific about the specific types of parachutes that he wanted.
Hmm.
So that is a little bit odd. And working at a skydive center, like clearly
That's what I'm
you kind of know what you're
saying.
supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I feel like in order to do this, you have to know an idea of how to skydive or how to at least jump out of an airplane and use a
Correct.
parachute properly.
Yeah, I would have no idea.
Oh my gosh, I would fall to my death.
Right. Yeah, so that is a little bit odd. And also, like, I don't even know if colored contacts were a thing back then. We're dating ourselves.
I
But
like how we're dating ourselves, but we're so young. It's
like, I don't know, in the 60s and the
I wonder
70s.
if there was were there even contacts in the
I don't
60s or
know.
70s?
I don't know. I don't know. Guys, we're only 22 and 23. Guys, it's almost Megan's birthday.
Yay! Then I'm gonna be dated even more.
Literally.
Anyways, so yes, that was Sheridan Peterson. He's kind of a unknown there. He's one that's kind of an underground suspect, not talked about as
Mm-hmm.
frequently, but he
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of connections to different parts of this crime that just were a little suspicious to FBI. But again, he was cleared, so here we are.
Yep. Moving on. Kenneth Christensen. Christensen? That's hard for me to say. Kenneth Christensen. He was a bit he definitely had like more of a direct connection in this because he worked for
Hmm.
Northwest Orient Airlines as a mechanic, flight attendant, purser. What's a purser?
No
Pilot?
clue.
Maybe pilot?
It's not a pilot, it's a purser. I just don't know what that means.
Okay. He worked as a mechanic and a flight attendant. His brother claims that he was on his deathbed in 1994 and he was saying that there was like something you should know, but I can't tell you. Suspicious. He was a military paratrooper and he actually bought a house in all cash, even though he had this flight attendant salary, which was not really enough
Yes.
to be buying a house in cash.
Yes, that was a big part of this one particular person where they knew the airline well, they knew planes well, all that sort of stuff, how to get in and out. And then the house thing was a little weird. They were just like, this makes no sense.
Like, where'd you get all that
Yeah,
money?
truly, where did you get all that?
Yeah. So that's a
It's
little
just,
bit crazy. Oh, a purser is a specialized officer on a ship or aircraft who manages financial operations, administration, and passenger welfare.
mm.
Suspicious.
Yet he made a lot of people feel unwell after that flight.
Yeah. He didn't do his
He
job.
didn't do his job very well. Our last suspect, and there's a couple more out there, but these are kind of the main ones that we're going to stick to. Robert Rackstraw. I don't know why I really like that name, but anyways, he he grand thefted $75,000 worth of bad checks, and this is just a random one. He did possibly murder his stepfather.
Perfect.
He was acquitted from murder charges, and he tried to fake his own death in 1978 by logging a false Mayday call from a rented plane. So I know that has no connection, but pretty much what they're saying is he was looking for money. He
Hmm.
had previous criminal history, and on top of that, he did rent an airplane, tried to fake his own death,
Hmm.
whatnot. In 2016, a book called The Last Master Outlaw, and there wasn't a lot of information from my research that I did, but in the book, they talk about how they did like a 5 year investigation into his life, what he's
Hmm.
done with his life, his past, all those sorts of things, and concluded how he was the DB Cooper suspect.
Hmm.
Obviously, I don't know.
Yeah.
That one's a little weird because there wasn't a lot of information as to why. I think it was more so just based upon his life and his previous
Hmm.
background of possibly killing. So I guess I just want to also say this. We did include murder in this week's episode. We
We
can't
did.
ever
We
escape
couldn't
from
not.
murder. We could not. We had to include it in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I don't know about him. I could also just see that someone was trying to kind of lean into that in order for a book.
Right. Yeah. I feel like maybe there could be some type of like, what's the word? Like when you like, not like a white lie, but when you are
A
like,
fib?
I get, like when you're like exaggerating like something like to make the book more interesting or whatever.
Is there a word for that,
I,
or is
I
it
thought there was. Maybe there's not. Anyways, yeah. So that one is kind of weird because it's like there's some connections, but also I feel like it's just very odd.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Dan Cooper guy.
He's a prime suspect for me. I also, the Sheridan Cooper thing, or not Sheridan Cooper. I don't also know why I said Sheridan Cooper thing. Dan Cooper, Sheridan Peterson. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm mixing up two names. The Kenneth Christensen thing is a little
Hmm.
odd, and he
Yeah.
kind of sticks with me, but Dan
Yeah.
Cooper is probably the top player in my
Hmm.
little playbook.
Yeah. I would agree with that. That's just like, why would you say that you hijacked a plane if you didn't? Sus. But
That
yeah,
is a
the Kenneth Christensen one is really weird. Like
it's a
he worked for the airline. He like and we talked about how this guy was like known to have like a what's it called? Familiarity with aircrafts. Like he
mm-hmm.
clearly knew this specific aircraft and this specific
Yeah.
like airline in general. So that is definitely a little bit odd.
Ah.
Weird.
Well, while you sit and ponder what suspects you think, because there's a lot out there, and all this material is very strange. I feel like
Mhm.
it's hard to process a little bit.
Mhm.
We're gonna go into some frequently asked questions while we review, talk
Yeah.
about our thoughts, all those lovely things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. So, the biggest question out there is, did he survive the jump? A lot of people think he did not survive the jump. He apparently, since he jumped into a freezing rainstorm at night in a wooded area, it because it was very cloudy at the time, there's a lot going
Mhm.
on. It's unlikely that he could have survived, especially with the materials that he had, but unfortunately no body was ever found.
Mhm.
So we don't know, and on top of that, he could still be alive and we have no clue. I personally think he survived
I agree.
because you can't be dumb enough to commit that crime and not get away with it or to survive.
Yeah, I think he's still alive, personally. But yeah, the next one is like, is the FBI still looking for him? No, like we said in 2016, they kind of stopped this active investigation. They did say that they would like review any information that was given or sent to them. They kind of agreed that this like 45-plus-year-old cold case was like no longer really a good use of these people's past taxpayer dollars. But it is kind of cool that they said that they would like continue to review any new information or like anything sent to them, because a lot of times they just won't. But
Well, I
no,
think I think it's interesting too, where some cases they keep open for such a long time, but then
yeah,
this one they decided we're done.
yeah. Especially like, I
Hmm.
don't know, it is interesting because I feel like they're not sure if he survived. So it's like, okay, is it like we think he did, but do they actually think he did? And is it a good
Hmm.
use of time and money if he's
Yeah,
like
and who knows?
not
He could be a
alive?
70 or 80-year-old man, or he could be
Right,
dead. We have no
right.
clue. The next question is, has any of the money been found? And that is a yes.
Mm-hmm,
There has been some found. In 1980, so about a little over 5 years after or a little under 5 years, I believe, after the incident, an 8-year-old found a rotting $5,800 of ransom money buried in a beach along the Columbia River. This was about 20 miles from the suspect drop zone, and the serial numbers matched, but the rest of the money has never been found.
mm-hmm,
So that one's bizarre
mm-hmm.
because
Like
he
20 miles away?
yeah, and who knows, maybe it got into the river.
Right,
And also, why would you just go bury your money? Are you doing a scavenger hunt with your money to
right,
find later?
right. X marks the spot.
Honestly, I would love to be an 8-year-old who found and be like, Mom,
Like,
I found
what?
$6,000 almost.
Yeah. They're like, okay. Yeah, so that's like kind of weird. Obviously, I guess they don't know like exactly where he would have dropped out of the plane, but like 20 miles away, I don't know. And that the serial numbers matched is very
It's very
like
strange.
intriguing. Yeah.
Hmm. So that
Um,
does, I feel like that leads people to think that he's possibly alive because
right.
had the money get there, but at the same time, why would you ask for 20,000 or $200,000 and then leave almost 6 grand
I know, and that
behind?
makes me think like, is there other money buried somewhere else that
Let's
people
go
are
on a
just
treasure hunt. We're
we
going
should
on a treasure hunt.
we
X
should.
marks the spot. Okay, next episode, Emily and I are gonna go to Washington and go find the money.
Surprise. I don't know. I just find that so puzzling.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay, next question that we have is, why didn't the military catch him? There was like the Air Force was following him and following the plane, waiting for someone to jump out. Basically, obviously, there's like certain amounts of distance that you can fly close to a plane, so they kind of had to go different speeds, not to, cause a crash or more hecticness. It was dark and cloudy during the time. Like we said, it was raining down below, and they never saw him jump, which
See,
is
that's the part I
which
think
is
is so
strange.
goofy is that
4
they all followed him
parachutes.
and they couldn't see anybody jump.
Right. Like it's really they didn't see any parachutes jump. Like
Apparently not.
yeah, that I feel like is kind of weird, but if they were following him, multiple of them, how did they never see him jump? It's
Because they were being dumb. They should have
weird.
been paying more attention.
I guess so. Use a flashlight.
Use a flashlight next time. Our last question is, what evidence did they recover to kind of
Mhm,
figure out who he was, what's going on, because all they had was the description. They recovered Cooper's clip-on tie and the tie clip.
mhm,
They uh, discovered several cigarette butts, but unfortunately, they were lost before DNA could be used. They couldn't figure out any saliva, anything of
mhm.
that nature. They had the two flight attendant witness descriptions and they found the ransom money. So over the years, they found some things, but they haven't found anything that shows definitive proof of who it is. And now at this point, they've just kind of been like, we got to move on.
Mhm. Ugh, it's so
I just want to.
puzzling.
I just want to go find them
I
or whoever
know.
this person is and be like, so did I find you? And they go,
Did you do
yeah.
it? Yes.
We get the
Uh,
$200,000. We'd put it towards our podcast. We'd be able to get a
wait,
podcast for
but
you.
now it's worth 1.6 million, so we
Yeah,
would be rich.
we would be able to get two podcast rooms and we could have
Guys.
our little microphones and be like, hey
Yes.
guys.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This one was like really cool to talk about because I'd
Cool.
never heard of it.
Neither have I. Shout out to my father who recommended this. Shout out. He recommended. He said it was a good one. And if anyone else has heard of this
Hmm.
case before, feel free to leave a comment because I'd be
Hmm.
curious to see how many other people have heard about it before.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, we just love our little conclusions. We love
We
ending on a
do.
positive
We're
note.
so
And
awkward.
this is honestly a more positive way to end up an episode because now it's
Yeah,
just like he didn't kill anybody. He just ran off with
right.
money.
We don't know
So,
where he is.
yay, positivity.
Yay.
Um, with that being said, if there's anyone else you want to hear or for us to talk about, any crimes, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be murder, it could be anything, leave a comment
Hmm.
on our TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, wherever your heart desires.
Yes. We always look at our
And
comments. We
we
appreciate you,
always we
listener.
always look. We're at 11 Spotify listeners.
I know, guys. We're doing so good. And we're
Yes, keep
international. I don't know if we mentioned that
uh,
before.
we're international. I saw someone listens from Ireland.
Yep.
Um, Shout out to Kippa if you're
We love
listening.
you.
See, we do read our comments, and then we
We
like to
do.
acknowledge you all when
Yes.
you give us ideas.
Yes, we do.
So, so with that being said, tune in for episode number 17 next week, and
Hmm.
yeah, we continue to connect with us, and we love you guys. We love spreading the word about crime.
Yes, we do. We love you. Thanks for
Thank you
listening.
for listening. Bye.
Bye.